What toxic issue is weighing you down that you may need advice on? Be my boyfriend or I leak your nudes? A close friend catfished me. She is now blackmailing me to force me to be a couple with her. After a horrific breakup several years ago, my friend Emily suggested I join a dating site and helped me set up my profile. I thought it was really sweet of her to help me, as although I'm a very sociable and confident person, I find it awkward to know how to present myself online. About a week later, I match with this amazing woman called Natalie and things go really quickly. We exchanged numbers, but rather oddly there was never an opportunity to call her on the phone. She was either busy at work, busy volunteering at care homes, or doing housework. I'll admit, I was naive to believe everything she said at first, but at the time it all made sense. The air of mystery around Natalie, and the strong attention she gave me made me develop strong feelings for her. We'd exchange revealing pictures, and eventually they turned into nudes. My ex had a low libido and so this was a breath of fresh air for me. After a while though, Natalie then emphasized that she wanted to take things slow as things in her mind were going too quickly. I complied and tried to turn it into a more casual relationship. I didn't emotionally invest in other women, but we didn't put as much pressure onto other people. Emily noticed a difference in me and wanted to know all the details of what had happened between myself and this new woman. Funnily enough, Emily knew all the right things to say and gave excellent tips on how to get the best out of Natalie. Women just understand each other, we're the same, she said. Things escalated over the following few months, and I was desperate to meet Natalie. She'd wanted to see what my female friends looked like, and if she needed to worry about any of them being jealous. When it came to discussing Emily, I told Natalie, yeah, she's hot, but I don't think she's into me that way. Emily became distant, as Natalie and I talked more and more. Still no real sign of meeting up, as she was apparently busy moving to a new house. All of a sudden Natalie ghosts me, no contact whatsoever, which even though we had never met or even called on the phone had a dramatic impact on me emotionally. My best friend Samantha reaches out to me, letting me know that Natalie was a fake profile created by Emily, and that I should confront her about it. Samantha didn't know the exact details of what had happened between myself and Natalie, but she knew I'd feel better for talking about it. I met up with Emily a few weeks ago, and we talked at her house. She said she felt remorseful and that none of this was her intention and she just wanted me to feel happier in life because I'm such a great guy. But then she really enjoyed talking to me as Nat and didn't want it to stop. I got pretty mad and stormed off. I felt humiliated and like a toy for her to play with. The following day, I get a message from Emily containing the last nude I sent her with the caption, "I still have these." I go back to her house, wanting to know her true intentions. That's when she tells me that she's told her rather strict and traditional family that she and I are in a romantic relationship, and she doesn't want to disappoint them by being the only daughter without a boyfriend. I tell her that's not my problem, and she then said, "It could be if I wanted to." I really fell for Natalie, but I just can't feel anything but disgust for how Emily has treated me. I feel hurt, embarrassed, and powerless in the situation. I haven't yet told Samantha the details about what's happened, as I feel it might just antagonize Emily. I had always suspected Emily to be a power-hungry individual, but not like this. Any advice? Is it wrong that I refuse to take my niece in? I am male and in my mid-20s. My eldest sister is in her mid-40s. Due to the massive age gap between me and my eldest sister, it's resulted in there only being 5 years between me and her daughter Kathy, 20, who this post is about. Kathy started university when she was 18. This was a huge achievement as she was the first grandkid to do it and I was very proud of her. She chose to stay in student accommodation and seemed to be doing alright for a while. She eventually moved into a place of her own, renting it with a few friends as it was cheaper. Well, everything went smoothly there until about a few months ago. She got kicked out by the landlord for not paying him any rent, or at least that was the story she told us. My family and I later found out Kathy had somehow gotten her landlord's bank account information. She still refuses to explain how, and stole roughly $20,000 from him. He ended her tenancy, called the cops, and she was arrested. She was lucky that he agreed not to press charges for fraud if she started paying him back any way she could, and she agreed. She went back to my sister's, who was furious, but she wanted to help her daughter, so she helped Kathy get a job. She lasted about a month until she was caught stealing from the job, and she was caught stealing from her mom and dad. At this point, she was 19, so after getting fired and again luckily not being charged, my sister kicked her out and my mom took her in. She stole from her too and got kicked out and is currently staying on a friend's couch. My other sister and brother absolutely refused to take her in, and Kathy's mom says she loves her, but she does not want her in her house. Kathy has come to me using the card that I'm only 5 years older than her. I'm young too and I can sympathize with her. I love her, but I do not trust her. I have very expensive equipment in my place including my drum kit, and I'm worried she'd try and sell them or something or steal from me, or maybe she'd even try to take my bank account info. I said to her I was really sorry, but I can't take her in as I don't trust her. She has called me an a-hole and abandoning her when everyone else isn't helping her. My siblings and mom all think Kathy cannot be trusted and that she's gonna get arrested again and she won't be so lucky and she'll get charged. I genuinely don't know if I'm an a-hole because yeah, she's a thief and I can't trust her, but she's still my niece and has nowhere to go. Dad's deplorable behavior. My dad, in his 60s, was a single dad and raised me my whole life. I am now almost 40. We've been close and currently my husband, myself and our teenage adopted daughter share a house with him. My husband and I were house parents at a group home and worked with foster teenagers. We left the job when we adopted, but we keep in touch with most of the girls we worked with. My dad has often taken us and all the girls out to dinner and other activities and they genuinely enjoyed spending time with him. They call him Pop Pop. One of the girls I'll call C, an 18-year-old female, has since left. She was private and just had a really messed up family, but avoided foster care. C almost came to live with us, but met a guy her messed up mom introduced her to and moved to be with him. It didn't work out and now she lives with her mom. She's in college and getting a job, so she seemed to be doing better. The other day my dad said he was chatting with C and had something to show us. It was a screenshot of a list of sexual services and prices she had and she told him she makes bank. I didn't see the entire conversation to see how they got to that point of discussion, but my concern for what she was doing made me not dig further about it. My dad was upset and said he was sad that she got to this point. Today C called me, but I missed it, and then she texted my daughter and asked if my dad has ever sent my daughter anything weird. She then says my dad sent her a dick pic, which makes me just want to gag typing it. My daughter brushed it off by saying, well, she is a prostitute, but I am beyond upset and so angry. The kids we worked with all come from bad situations and have dealt with trauma and sexual abuse, so while I hate that C is choosing to do this, on some level it's not surprising. I confronted my dad and he said he was trying to shock her to realize what she is doing is wrong. I cannot believe that is his justification and think it's absolutely ridiculous and disgusting. To me, that would be akin to giving a drug addict drugs to shock them into stopping. He was saying that because we go to church that I can't be objective, and somehow managed to turn it around so that he is angry and after so long of arguing I am drained. He is sticking to his justification and adopted daughter isn't fazed by it. My husband is away for work this week and I am dreading having to tell him this tonight. I know he will agree with me. The dynamic in our home is going to change and right now I can't even look at my dad. I don't even know how to handle this going forward, but currently I'm looking at other housing options, even though we can't really afford to move right now. Is my half-sister being salty and inconsiderate? So my husband just surprised me with a weekend trip to Santa Monica. I told my older half-sister, she then goes, oh, me and Jim, her husband, and their kids can come too, we will make it a family trip. I told her that it's just me and dear husband going. I'm 29 weeks pregnant with our first child and we wanted to have a couple of getaway trips before I can't fly anymore. She's like, well, if we all go together we can do this and that and blah blah blah. I told her that dear husband and I want some uninterrupted time with just us without him being interrupted by work with he usually is. So she is insistent that she comes. I told her that if she goes she will be doing it with her and her husband and children by herself because dear husband and I plan to spend all of our time together just us shopping and being on the beach, and enjoying various museums and such. So she calls me selfish. I told her I'm not selfish. She is being inconsiderate thinking she can just hijack my vacation. She asked what hotel we were staying at. I told her I wasn't saying because I didn't want her all in our faces if she decides to book anyway. Her kids are teens and preteens. Am I wrong for wanting the getaway to be just me and my husband? Having my nieces and nephews and half-siblings is not what I wanted from this vacay. I wanted it to be fun and romantic, not family-filled and hectic. Update. So recall my hubby surprised me with a trip to Santa Monica this coming weekend and half-sister tried to hijack with her husband and kids. When I refused, she called me selfish. My husband was furious when he got home. I was wondering why because I had no intentions of telling him but half-sister did and thought my husband would take her side. Rolling eyes face, delusional much. He walks in the house dropping F-bombs, which he never does as he doesn't really cuss. I am trying to rush my almost 29 weeks pregnant behind down the stairs, and he hears me and says F both sides. I have F and had it. How the F are we related to the most inconsiderate, entitled mother effers on the planet? I said so and so called you. He said yes. I said let it go. I already told her no. That was that he calmed down considerably. I made him a steak and some veggies and got him a cold beer and he was fine after that and a shower. I called her and asked her why she would call my husband about the trip after I told her she wasn't coming. She said she thought he would be more considerate and reasonable. I was like, excuse me, WTF? My rebuttal started like this: okay, first of all, the only inconsiderate person is you. You are trying to hijack me and my husband's baby moon. I told you that we have hardly had any time together since moving here because he's getting settled at work and in the middle of a big project. So I have been basically by myself back and forth to the doctors, grocery, etc. I also explained that, as you know, because you're a mom, this is probably one of the last times we will get to dote on each other, as when the baby gets here by she will be the prime focus. And not to mention how arrogant you are thinking you can just insert yourself, your spouse and your preteen/teen children into my baby moon like it's good. Newsflash, bish, it's not good. And furthermore, consider this, you notice, if you ever try to go around me by going to my husband, thinking you are going to get a different answer, think again. When I move, he moves just like that, and vice versa. We were not raised together, so I went my whole life without you and can go the rest of the way. I now understand why most of our siblings told me you would be an obnoxious sass, and in this moment I happen to believe them. So then she was like, I can't believe you are saying these things to me after I tried to welcome you into my circle. I said, honey, that was all fine and good and much appreciated, but don't get it twisted. I don't need you or your friends. I can make my own and have in the few weeks we have been here. So don't think I need you. I do not. I wanted to connect with you because we are siblings, and I wanted to get to know you for myself, but I'm starting to see that everything that was said about you is true. So if I have to let you go, please believe me, I won't shed a tear or miss a wink of sleep. She said, well, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I just thought we could all had a good time. I said, the fact that you don't see anything wrong with what you did shows how inconsiderate, obnoxious and arrogant you are, and I don't have to raise grown-ass adults, as I am about to an infant. So goodbye. I hung up and that was that. If we talk again, I don't know and I don't care. I just can't have that level of dysfunction and corruptness in my life while I'm about to bring forth life. I'm in the middle of some good work right now. My girlfriend is upset ever since I beat her in wrestling. My girlfriend and I are in our early 20s, and we go to the same college. Now we would usually wrestle for fun, but I'd always let her win. I think she took pride in winning, but whenever I told her I wasn't going serious, she would say, yeah, right, but if it made her happy, it wasn't an issue. Now I'm not a big guy. I'm about 510 and 175 pounds. I'm skinny fat basically. I occasionally lift weights, so I'm pretty strong. She's 511 and 165 to 170 pounds. She plays volleyball for our college at a competitive level, so she's an athlete. Well, the other day she initiated another wrestle and I let her win, until she said, okay, let's see what you got. I wasn't sure what she meant, so I asked her and she asked me to go serious. So we wrestled and I pinned her rather quickly. She tried to break free, but couldn't. I could tell she was a bit shaken, so she asked to go again. And we went again, but I got her in a headlock. I didn't squeeze too hard, but just enough to hold her, and she tapped. We went a third time and I pinned her. At that point she seemed confused and things got a bit awkward. She then told me she never knew I was serious when I said I wasn't really trying. Since then, her mood has been lower. She's usually bubbly, but this time I noticed she was low and a bit mopey. What do I do here? Am I in the wrong for not pumping enough for my baby? So I work as a nurse. I was originally on maternity leave as I gave birth to my darling baby girl 6 months ago. I deliberately went back to work early due to global events and it has been very stressful. I'm also emotional, stressed, tired and hormonal as I'm still dealing with the after effects of pregnancy. I usually work 8 to 12-hour shifts, and that was initially the case until recently. I was working the other day and was initially scheduled to do a standard night shift from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. It then got pushed up to working till 8 a.m. There is a high demand for working longer hours as many of my colleagues are off or just there's too much patients for us to deal with and we're all overwhelmed. My shift ended up being a horrific 18-hour shift, and I ended up working 8 p.m. until 2 p.m. the following day. I won't go into specific details, but the shift was exhausting and I was drained. When I got home, my husband was up while our baby was asleep. I had planned on pumping some breast milk for her so she could have some when she woke up. I was awake enough to get the pump out and I got to work on our couch, and I guess my hand slipped and stopped the pump somehow and I remembered my eyes closing. I eventually woke up to my husband poking me on the shoulder with our baby who was screaming her little heart out. He asked where all the breast milk was. I realized I forgot to pump enough before work, and I am just so exhausted that it slipped my mind. I explained that to my husband and told him that there was some formula we could use. We mainly use breast milk, but do occasionally use formula. That should have been enough, but he got really iffy with me. He was actually pissed off that I fell asleep because he claims I promised to pump like normal. I got angry back and just said I'm so sorry if I fell asleep after working for almost a whole day. Baby was fed with formula and there was no issue as she was fine after. I should note there was some breast milk in the fridge, but the last of it was used up before her nap. He has had the hump with me ever since that comment and has called me wrong for falling asleep as it meant I couldn't pump for our daughter. It's actually caused me to break down in tears and wonder if maybe I am truly wrong, so I've come here. Update. I should add I do get a few days off so I'm not overworked via illegal working hours, but even with a few days off my shifts are exhausting. To make it clear, I am not willingly doing all these long hours, it is just literally so demanding that I'm kinda thrown into it. And no, I didn't make any promises to my husband. I mentioned I planned on doing it as usual and that can obviously change. My husband is also working flexible hours from home and can luckily work as little or as much as he wants. Also, I am not neglecting childcare. When I am here off, I tend to her an equal amount or sometimes more than my husband. I just literally cannot do everything sometimes though if I'm working 4 or 5 shifts a week that are very long. I'm not super mom, I'm just a mom who's working and trying to juggle that with a new baby. I cut contact with my sister because she ruined my chance for meeting my birth family. I was adopted into the Miller family when I was a few months old. I am the youngest and female, and I have 5 older siblings. The 3 oldest, Beth, James and Carl, are my parents' biological children. My closest sibling, Tucker, was adopted a year before me. So, Beth has some behavioral problems. She will get moody, has times when she cries over any perceived slight. She loves kids and when they reject her she will try to make it right, almost obsessively. Her children are the sole focus of her life and she considers Tucker and myself to be part of her tribe. Our parents had to tell her to stop trying to help parent. Beth would want to do things like help us brush our teeth when we were 11. When we already knew how and had no cavities. She would try to dress us into high school. While I love Beth as a sister, I am annoyed by her treatment and spent very little time with her from the age of 14 to 20. She got better when she had her last kid, now 2. But she's back to treating us like children now that she baby stage is done. Last year, Tucker found his biological parents. They told him they didn't want anything to do with him. He was gutted. I still wanted to look for my biological family. I did the research and found an aunt. I contacted her and she was interested in getting to know me. It was a positive interaction. She friended me on FB, and I talked to some cousins. Then one day I get online and she is gone. I have a message from another cousin saying, "Wow, that was uncalled for." I couldn't figure out what was being said, so I asked. They told me to talk to my sister, since she was so godly. Then they all blocked me. I found out that Beth contacted my aunt and cousins asking why my birth mother was not speaking to me. I had no issue with how the timeline was going. I was happy to have some bio family to talk to. Beth sent some long, insane ramble and whatever it said scared my birth family off. Now they don't want to speak with me. I cut Beth off right then. I don't care if she meant well or if she has mental issues. She was not someone I ever want to help me with situations. I have told Beth that she ruined this for me. I have not spoken to her in 5 months now. She came to Christmas. I refused her present and did not get her anything. I have not spoken to her family at all. I am so mad I could spit. She tried to reason that Tucker was hurt so she wanted to help. I told her this was the last line she crossed, and it was my right to be upset and handle my birth family on my own. I let her know that there was nothing she could say to make this okay. She has invited me to visit my nieces, but I have declined. James, Carl, and Tucker are on my side and told her that she has destroyed something good for me. This is just one of many things she has ruined trying to make me like her. I am ready to cut her out completely, and her family, because I am so hurt. I don't see her ever making this up to me. I'm not sure where I go from here. Our parents are not the kind to make us get along if we don't want to. They are fine doing separate holidays or even timing it so no one is around the other. They have let Beth know that she has crossed a line. They have not cut her off. They still see their grandkids, but they have absolutely refused to get in the middle. I know Beth is upset because her husband contacted me asking for me to talk it out with her. I told him no. She deserves to be upset. She took something from me and she needed mental help, but I am done. I am not having her ruin another big thing for me because she thinks of me as a child. I am just lost. I have not seen my nieces, except when my parents babysit, and I am sad about that. But I refuse to engage with their mother at all. I don't think I can ever forgive this. So where do I go from here? TLDR, my mentally ill sister contacted my birth aunt to scold her and no one in my birth family will speak to me anymore. I cut her off because of this. Not sure where to go from here? Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.